The TVWAN News is proudly brought to you by
BSP, our bank, our people.
Hello, this is TVWAN News. I'm Jasmine Iru. In this edition, Sir Rabi lowered on Independence Hill, City explores water service alternatives, and Pride embark on development pathway. School heads in Simbu province were in Goroka, Eastern Highlands recently for a two-day retreat. The principals and head teachers from Simbu were led to the retreat by Simbu Provincial Education Advisor Kutna Bepwik. In the official opening of the retreat at the Pacific Hotel in Goroka, Mrs. Bepwik said the idea is to take the heads of institutions or schools out on retreat like this so that they will get a better understanding of their work and plan to know what to do in their school this year. This is the first time the heads of schools in Simbu are being taken to another province to realign with plans before the second term. Bepwik said in the retreat program, principals planned and strategized and put in good plans and ideas to run the institutions they are in charge of. She said this is to improve the standards of education in the province and achieve good results in the national examinations in grade 8, 10 and 12. Students and teachers of an early childhood learning center in Ningrum, LLG Western Province had reason to celebrate Easter with the opening of their brand new double classroom. The Inclusive Early Childhood Education Program School of the St. John Parish in the Ningrum, LLG built their classroom from 60,000 kina donation made by 3 North Fly Women and Children's Association of the Community Mind Continuation Agreement.
Kalan Services Kiunga Special Education Program, in partnership with the Catholic Church's Daru Kiunga Diocese, received the 60,000 kina funding in 2021. Construction of the Early Childhood Learning Center in Ningrum LLG began in 2022. Kalan Services Kiunga Special Education Coordinator Doris Amboman said 20,000 kina was used to build the classroom and the balance will fund 2 teachers' houses to be built at a later date.
This is the 3rd year now of this intakes. It is an inclusive school where disabled, able, we are all one. We see each other's differences and accept one another. Then it becomes inclusive. So thank you for the Vincentian priest, continued support, making classroom complete.
Nupua Women and Children's Association President Noni Dokumun, in her remarks, said the association was grateful to Oktedi Development Foundation for building their capacity in project management and was happy to see the outcome from the funding they provided. She thanked the executives of her sister associations, Tutue, Waitree and Nupmo Women and Children's Associations, and the partnership with OTDF for the timely support for the infrastructure project. OTDF Program Services Sustainable Development Manager Andrew Murray expressed appreciation to the commitment of missionaries towards development in PNG, particularly the Catholic Church, for the endless contributions in developing Western Province.
Developing Western Province, it's very difficult, okay? It's very difficult because of the geographical constraints, okay? We have mountains, we have rivers, we have swamps. Okay? There is no road access connecting the remote areas to the township, even town. We have only one highway, that's Kinga Tauville Highway, and that's it. It's not impossible to bring the church to the communities that we are working with. So we need the support of the communities. We need the support of the non-government organizations. And more importantly, the church has been doing a great job to providing that service and, addressing that gap that the government is not, addressing the work of the government is not fulfilling its mandated responsibility.
He said most importantly, transparency in project management and servant leadership are just as effective as the community ownership of such development projects. Salome Vincent, TVWAN News.
The new education building that is taking shape near the famous Goroka Bowling Club and the Goroka Post Office is gradually taking shape. The education building adds to new infrastructure development in the provincial capital of Eastern Highlands. During a tour of the project site, Deputy Provincial Administrator Ipa E. Maniha said this is a landmark building that will be the highlight of the Division of Education and the province. Maniha hopes to see the completion of the complex in 8 to 10 months. EHP Education Director Wesley Albert said the facility, once completed, will house section heads and officers of the Education Division. All will be stationed in a central location to make services accessible to those who need it. Albert said it will have internet services, a library, conference room, and ATM services. The National Performing Art Troupe and National Film Institute in Goroka, Eastern Highlands Province have recently commissioned 2 new buildings, a duplex office building for NPAT and a 3-unit L building accommodation for NFI staff. The Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture, E.C. Henry Leonard, officially opened the buildings, witnessed by various government dignitaries.
2 multi-million kina buildings have been commissioned in Goroka, Eastern Highlands Province for the National Performing Art Troupe and the National Film Institute. The event was attended by government dignitaries, including the Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture and the Secretary for National Planning. The buildings include a duplex office complex for Performing Art Troupe and a 3-unit L building accommodation for NFA staff. Performing Art Troupe Director Michael Doa expressed his happiness about the new office building, stating that he had been operating in a container office for 40 years. National Cultural Commission Executive Director Stephen Kilanda acknowledged and thanked the government institutions for supporting these projects and the development of these infrastructures. Planning Secretary Connie Samuel thanked the NCC for funding infrastructure projects and pledged to continue working with the Minister for Tourism and other institutions to support the sector. The Minister for Tourism, Art and Culture, E.C. Henry Leonard, expressed happiness in seeing positive changes and development taking shape through the positive approach and cooperation between these important government institutions. He emphasized the importance of preserving, protecting, developing, promoting and safeguarding indigenous cultures and supporting these cultural institutions that play a vital role in these efforts. The commissioning of these new buildings signifies a milestone achievement for the ancillary support staff, performers and officers of the Performing Art Troupe and NFI, as well as the people of Goroka. Salome Vincent, TV1 News.
The final day of the funeral service for the late retired Honorable Chief Sir Rabi Langanai Namaliu took precedence today at the APEC House in Port Moresby. The event was attended by family, friends, VIPs and dignitaries who paid their respects to the late senior statesman.
Today, the final leg of the state funeral for Sir Rabi Namaliu began at the APEC House in Port Moresby. The program began with the laying of wreaths at the entrance, followed by the arrival of the casket with the PNG Defence Force Ceremonial Guard performing a solemn march. The service featured beautiful choral items and hymns, adding to the atmosphere of reverence and mourning. Special tributes were given by former members of Parliament and family members, with a special eulogy that was read by former member for Lae Bart Philemon.
Thank you, my Tole brother, for your humility, for your servitude, for your honesty, and for your sincerity, and for the love of your beautiful country.
Sir Charles Lapani, the only surviving member of the Gang of Four, also paid tribute to his late friend.
In our times together, whether we discussed matters of state or were just reminiscing over humorous moments in our interactions with our political masters and senior public servants colleagues, Rabi would from time to time let go of a loud, raucous, infectious laughter. That would provoke similar outbursts of laughter from Makere, Tony, and me, as if Rabi was the lead singer and we chimed in for the chorus.
Sir Rabi's eldest sons, Isaac and Rabi Jr., spoke words of remembrance and paid their last respects to the man that not only fathered them, but the country as well.
For us as his children, we've always quietly been in awe about the resilience and perseverance of our father, particularly knowing that at many different points in his life he had many defining moments that would have weakened the character of a person, but instead strengthened his resolve to be better in life. In closing, we would like to thank the country for giving us the best dad in the world. He will surely be missed by us. Love you, Dad.
Prime Minister James Marape also delivered a heartfelt keynote address sharing his memories of Sir Rabi and his contributions to the country. The program included Bible readings, a sermon, and a final dedication and committal. The service ended with a benediction delivered by Reverend Dr. Jack Moha. Sir Rabi's casket was then transported to Independence Hill for burial. The event was a fitting tribute to a great man who dedicated his life to serving PNG. Sir Rabi Langanai Namaliu's legacy will live on in the hearts and minds of those he touched during his lifetime. Keokiru Jr., TV1 News.
Prime Minister James Marape presided over the passing of 3 former prime ministers of our country during his reign as the Prime Minister, Sir Mekere Morauta and Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare, and today Sir Rabi Namaliu. All of the leaders have played significant roles in the formative years of the country, whether in politics or as public servants, and have laid the foundational building blocks that have anchored Papua New Guinea's unity and democracy.
Prime Minister James Marape today conveyed his heartfelt condolences and sympathy to the immediate family of late Sir Rabi Namaliu, both in Kokopo and the Greater East New Britain province. At Sir Rabi's state funeral, PM Marape described Sir Rabi as a humble leader who emerged from a simple missionary family into an extraordinary Papua New Guinean who was among the first of those who set education and public service benchmarks and eventually become the Prime Minister. Sir Rabi's strong Christian and Melanesian cultural influence was commended because it guided him in his life of service to the country and championed consensus-based decision-making.
He built and encouraged consensus as a means of resolving disputes, a really deep Melanesian and Christian principle. He identified to his true calling in the public service and pursued it so faithfully. He was a humble man. He put his best foot for his country rather than his own self. Sir Rabi wasn't into personal building empire. He worked for the country faithfully, earning honestly, and he, like Grand Chief Somare, lived simple and a fulfilling life.
Marape presided over the passing of 3 former prime ministers. He said of Sir Rabi, he entered and exited public life without fanfare and continued to work to make a useful contribution in industry, business, community, and church, and remained active in public service until his passing.
So once again, that our country has lost a great leader. He will be, of course, greatly missed by the family, the people of Raluana, Kokopo, East New Britain, and our country. And on behalf of Pangu Party, let me say, he will also be missed by the Pangu Party family. And let me appreciate his family and friends, especially those who've flown in. Your presence here today is noted. Farewell, Sir Rabi. Thank you for your services to your country.
Freddie Moe, TVWAN News.
Sir Rabi Namaliu's motorcade left the APEC house after his funeral service and was concluded on the final day of his state funeral, leaving the nation in mourning as the realization of his final journey comes to a close. His casket was taken to Independence Hill to be laid to rest near fellow former Prime Ministers Sir Mekere Morauta and Sir William Skate.
It is a sad day for Papua New Guinea as the state funeral for Papua New Guinea's fourth Prime Minister, Sir Rabi Langanai Namaliu, comes to a close. Many people attended his funeral service today to pay their respects to a prominent leader highly regarded for his leadership. The casket was taken to the Independence Hill for the burial program, with the PNG Defense Force Ceremonial Guard performed. The casket was then escorted to the burial site by the PNG Defense Force pallbearers, where Reverend Dr. Jack Moore gave an opening prayer and a final tribute was made by Prime Minister James Marape in his keynote address. The casket was lowered and a traditional farewell song was performed by the Tolai Choir, followed by final respects from the immediate family and dignitaries. Reverend Dr. Jack Moore gave a final dedication and committal before the firing of the volleys took place. Followed by the playing of the last post, a minute of silence and the playing of brass. The national flag was presented to Isaac Namaliu on behalf of the Namaliu family by PNGDF Major General Mark Goiner.
For me, very grateful nation, the independence of New Guinea. Please accept this national flag as a symbol of appreciation and recognition to your father, the late Right Honorable Sir Rabi Namaliu, the fourth Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, for his honorable full service to his beloved people and country.
The funeral service was a moving tribute to the life of Sir Rabi Namaliu, who will be remembered fondly by all who knew him. Carol Kidu Jr., TVWAN News.
You're watching TVWAN News. When we come back, City Authority explores water alternatives.
Whether we're playing sport, exercising for fitness, being active for work or play, just having some fun, or just chilling, there is one name we can count on that we know will keep us going strong. Skell Rice. Healthy, nutritious, delicious medium grain rice full of vitamins and minerals. Skell helps us maintain a healthy, active lifestyle so we can enjoy every day.
Skell Rice. Skell Life.
Hiya, Mama. You wait time, but me add him special flavor.
Put him more flavor, put him more taste. Magical karuki up a big smile on face. Time cook him chicken, a great fumu too. Sip, sip, the mumu, yes, magic on you.
Magic, the taste PNG loves.
Open net.
Favorite meal for the day does feel good. Snacks noodles is my choice for a simple meal. It is easy to prepare and fast to cook, and with a touch of flavor and ingredients, quality noodles that can be cooked and enjoyed in many different ways. You see, my whole family loves it. It's made here in PNG and comes in different pack sizes. Snacks Noodles. Tastier, but you like it more.
He says the best Hunters players come from his region. So does she. But there's one thing that brings everyone together. SB Lager, Bungimyumi.
Gervonta Tank Davis, King Ryan Garcia.
The power of Davis! The flash, the hand speed.
Two undefeated stars, two journeys, one mega fight to make history.
It's over! It doesn't get any better than this!
Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia, live April 23rd, only on Fight Sports.
Welcome back. The Pacific Immigration Development Community holds its annual meeting in Port Moresby. Established in 1996, the PIDC facilitates discussions between official immigration agencies in the Pacific region to promote multilateral cooperation. This year's meeting includes a workshop on border management systems in the Pacific, facilitated by the PNG Immigration and Citizenship Authority. The workshop aims to promote good practices in procuring such systems. The Chief Migration Officer of Papua New Guinea leads the PIDC and has demonstrated strong leadership by providing capacity building and technical assistance to other Pacific immigration agencies. The Morobe Provincial Government's Women's Division has engaged a private entity to collect data on its behalf. This is in relation to the 5 million kina allocation by Governor Luther Wenge for single mothers, divorcees and widows.
Widow, Divorced, Single and Struggle Association, WDSS has more than 200 sub-associations in Morobe Province. It has reportedly been collecting registration fees from women in rural Morobe. This association, as explained by Babafi Trust Coordinator, Pastor Stefano Kepe, has been engaged by the Morobe Provincial Government's Women's Division to collect data on its behalf. This is where the confusion arises. Pastor Kepe clarified that the Women's Division is authorized to implement the governor's policy. It does not collect fees. However, the Women's Division has engaged the WDSS Association to extract data and do analysis so they can create a program that can utilize the 5 million kina allocated for all women in Morobe Province. It is the fees that are being paid to WDSS Association that has made people think the government was collecting money from rural women. Pastor Kepe outlined that the WDSS Association is a private entity that has been operating since 2019, adding they operate according to their policy in order to facilitate their activities. WDSS has been collecting fees from women to register their sub-associations with the Investment Promotion Authority. This has raised concern from rural women as different groups from the 10 districts reported being scammed by individuals posing as officers from the Tutumang House. Elderly women from the Yuwang village in Makam district recently reported that they were told to pay 35 kina for registration, 10 kina for ID cards, and 3 kina to hire a Morobe Kolos for the ID photo shoot. These elderly widows have lost their husbands and have no way of earning an income. In response to their concerns, Governor Wenge advised residents to report the matter to his office, which will then be forwarded to police. Mary Silla Kelaton, TV1 News.
An engineering firm specialized in drilling, geosciences, design and construction services in Papua New Guinea has proposed plans for feasibility studies for water services for the National Capital District and sister electorates throughout Port Moresby. Last week, NCD Governor Paus Pakop, accompanied by colleague members of Parliament, met with EarthPro Limited's principal geotechnical engineer Pil Niru to discuss a way forward.
National Capital District Governor Paus Pakop, members for Moresby South Justin Chichenko, Moresby Northwest Lohia Boy Samuel, and Mosby Northeast John Kaupa last week met with Ethpro Limited, an engineering firm specialized in drilling, geosciences, design and construction services in Papua New Guinea. The aim of the meeting was to discuss a way forward for alternative water supply projects for selected areas in Port Moresby. Ethpro Limited's principal geotechnical engineer, Pil Niru, presented a proposal. Niru also emphasized the need for a feasibility study.
So that's why I flagged to Governor and Doctor about the chances of we doing a proper study and capturing all those baseline data, how much water that we have in the city, representing all these communities like 8 Mile, 9 Mile. So we pilot it out. That was the whole idea of doing a feasibility studies so that we can design a project that's specific for that number of population based on the quantity of water that we have.
Ethpro Limited operates out of Port Moresby and has operations in Momase, Highlands and Southern regions. Their previous work includes water supply projects for Botama Hatchery Farm, ExxonMobil, and Engore PNG LNG, among others.
If it's a viable option, if we do the feasibility study and feel there's a proposal for a feasibility study, so now we will show us what he has done here. Yeah. You may look him now. Then he can give us some oversight on the feasibility study. So then we can make a decision. All four of us, we make a decision and then we do it. We've got nothing to lose. Our people have everything to gain from this initiative.
Pakop further says these are the type of Papua New Guineans that should be promoted and encouraged so they can help solve problems in local communities.
It's not easy. Not many Papua New Guineans take this, challenge or want to go into out of their comfort zone. But I feel you have taken the leap, and it's up to us now to recognize that, and we engage you. It will be on merits, and you deserve it because you are putting your hands up.
Maricela Kelleton, TVWAN News.
Furthermore, Governor Pakop spoke frankly on water services provided by Water PNG Limited. Pakop highlighted the years of challenges spent attempting to rectify water problems in the city.
Primary responsibility for supplying these basic services rests with, in the past, Edaranu. Even before that with NCDC. But sometimes in 1999, by good wisdom or foolishness, they got that function out of NCDC and parked it with Edaranu. Since I came in, we've spent millions. We've spent millions trying to solve this problem. Some of these issues, we've got to find solution. So people are complaining in Mosby South, people are complaining in Northwest, people are complaining in Northeast. We can't wait for, state-owned enterprise minister or Water PNG to solve it. We are leaders and we've got to find solution.
Chief Justice Sir Gibbs Salika said the recently opened Biala Courthouse was built on the premise that Parliament will allow for a three-tier higher court system, the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals and the National Court. This has not happened before because legislature failed to do it years ago.
Chief Justice Gibbs Salika explained that the new Biala Courthouse was built on the idea that it will cater for the three-tier higher courts. He said before this, the judicial services was stuck. Sir Gibbs urged the people of Nakanai to take ownership of the building. He encouraged them to resolve law and order issues through the legal system and not take the law into their own hands. There must always be respect for the rule of law and the authority of the courts.
A beautiful place here, take care of it. I don't want to come back here in 3, 5, 4 years time or 10 years time to see those flooded with building and every other rubbish. Get rid of that. From the moment you come into the court premises, we don't like looking this kind of person. na you come Bangrapim courthouse.
The Chief Justice explained that the rule of law is about human rights, a primary responsibility of the government.
Government must protect him, providing police law here so that only can protect him lives law here. Now lives the property law here. He got rights long health services. He got rights long education. Everything he got right long end. And so any responsibilities long government law you, government law me, long providing those services to our people. And so
Biala Courthouse cost over 9 million kina. Prime Minister James Marape was pleased that this is a first of its kind to have two arms of government at one place at a time. Freddie Moe, TVWAN News.
And that ends the news segment. We now have the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. This is TV1 News. When we come back, a look at what's making headlines in the region.
All-One Talks adds some excitement to your festivities with the Flame Easter Bonanza. Win a slice of a whopping 300,000 kina by purchasing the Flame Family Bundle Pack, which includes rice, sugar, flour, and vegetable oil, all in one go. Highlight these goodies on your receipt and scribble your full name and contact details on the back, and pop it in the entry box in selected stores across PNG. Full fortnightly draws, 100 winners, 3,000 kina each. You don't want to miss out. This promotion ends on the 31st of May. Flame, strength and energy. Terms and conditions apply.
From the rich soils of the highlands, the finest coffee has been grown by generations of Papua New Guineans. Expertly blended and roasted with over 80 years of experience, making the finest cup of Nescafe New Guinea blend. PNG's own coffee.
Tired of sniffing, sneezing, and congestion? Stop popping pills that don't help. Get essential vitamins found in nature through these supplements that are formulated to reduce the symptoms of common colds and flu. Boost your body's immunity with these supplements that provide a protective shield against nasal congestion, sneezing, mild bronchial cough, and sore throats. Walk into a city pharmacy and pick up a bottle of Nature's Way Garlic Plus C and Horseradish, or the sugar-free Cenovus Sugarless Vitamin C tablets, and say goodbye to sickness. Available at a city pharmacy near you.
Dear son, you ask me how I live such a good life. Yes, I've had some good luck, like the day I met your mother. But it wasn't always that way. I've made some good choices too, like working hard and keeping my super with NASFAN. They looked after it for me, which meant I could concentrate on looking after my family. Living each day, knowing that when the time came, I'd be ready for tomorrow. Love, Dad.
Superstition ain't the way.
And we're back. The state's Children's Commissioner says young people in WA's juvenile justice system are in desperate need of more mental health support, which would help avoid repeated riots and attacks on staff. Guards say they don't feel safe going to work and are asking the state government to do more to protect them.
The damage caused during Saturday's riot by a group of juvenile detainees, and the woman charged with looking after the interests of the state's children says it's going to keep happening.
Most of them have cognitive and intellectual impairments. They don't have emotional regulation, so they don't know how to control their fear, their anger, their distress, and they escalate really quickly, and we don't have sufficient supports for them.
On Saturday, 2 youths being held in Unit 18 at Casuarina Prison allegedly attacked a guard before taking her keys and freeing another 11 detainees. Together, they got onto the roof, throwing pieces of debris and injuring a total of 6 staff. It's the latest in a long line of similar events in WA's youth justice system, including one at Banksia Hill on New Year's Eve that saw nearly 24 children climb on top of fences.
We can blame everybody that we want in this situation, but the reality is our members are in there. Our members are the ones that are actually on the front line, and their safety has to be paramount.
The state government spending tens of millions of dollars to take detainees out of here at Unit 18 and put them back into Banksia Hill. They say that'll include improved infrastructure and more support for their needs. But the Commissioner says that's only one part of the solution.
What we need to do is, instead of spending $500,000 on a year on a child to be incarcerated, is spend that money on a child in their early years to change their trajectory.
Australians lost a staggering $3.1 billion to scams last year. The record figure has led the consumer watchdog to call on banks to better protect their customers.
Doris McAllister with a gaping hole in her retirement savings.
I just couldn't believe this would happen to me. I'm always very careful.
After a lifetime of working hard, scammers convinced her to transfer her life savings, $260,000, to what she thought was a Singapore-based bank offering a higher interest rate. Australians lost $3.1 billion to scams last year, an increase of 80%. About half of all losses were to fake investment schemes, and older Australians like Doris lost more money than other age groups.
These levels of losses make it pretty clear that what we need is a coordinated effort across government, across institutions.
Losses by bank transfer are increasing fast. The ACCC wants banks to copy the UK, where it's harder to trick potential victims.
Consumers will be warned in the UK if there is a mismatch between, in effect, the account number and the account name that they are seeking to transfer funds to.
That's a call the banking industry now says it's looking into.
Some form of confirmation of payee is something that the whole of the banking industry is currently looking at.
Today's shocking figures increase the pressure on the federal government. In a statement, the Minister for Financial Services, Stephen Jones, said the establishment of a new National Anti-Scam Centre would hold industry to account, but he did not indicate when it would be up and running. At the age of 75, Doris has now been forced to return to work.
After a landmark review, the Victorian government says it's taken steps to begin prison reform by upgrading Victoria's maximum security women's prison.
Colours, softer furnishings and plenty of natural light from the world outside. This is a new look for Melbourne's Dame Phyllis Frost Women's Prison. Opening a new 106-bed wing this week, the government has promised to improve access to rehabilitation services within the prison.
A lot of the women coming into custody have had backgrounds where they have experienced trauma in their lives. And prison in itself and a lot of the practices can be trauma-inducing and triggering for women.
A key upgrade will be new body scanners to replace strip searches on arrival, 6 years after being recommended by the Victorian Ombudsman, as well as an Aboriginal healing unit and more facilities for virtual court appearances.
Having modern, contemporary facilities means that the staff and prisoners have the best chance of turning their lives around.
Prison management at Dame Phyllis Frost was slammed by the coroner last year for the treatment of Veronica Nelson, who died in her jail cell after repeatedly calling for help.
That was a terrible tragedy, and really important that we learn and we do better, and that's how we redeem ourselves.
A 900-page landmark report into Victoria's prison system also recently found more than half of staff had been bullied by colleagues, and nearly 2/3 had experienced workplace harm.
Racism, discrimination, bullying and sexual harassment. And that's within the whole correctional, in all prisons basically.
The review handed down dozens of recommendations, including an overhaul of the Corrections Act and more training for officers.
We've spent a lot of money building up infrastructure, and as nice as that is, we haven't spent a lot of time actually developing the staff.
There is significant training in place, but yes, that's another matter that we're considering putting in place in time.
In July, community health provider Western Health will take over medical care at Dame Phyllis Frost. Prisoners will move into the new wing in the coming weeks.
And back home, Father Valeriano Barbero, a longtime missionary in PNG, passed away peacefully on the 14th of April 2023 in Novara, Italy, after a long illness. Missionaries referred to him as a holy man. Father Val carried a large smile on his face, even amidst tension and trouble that challenged his mission in Papua New Guinea.
Father Valeriano Barbero, or Father Val as he is dearly called, was born on 31st August 1938 in Novara, Italy. He made his first profession on August 16, 1956 at Pinerolo and was ordained a priest on 18th March 1967 at Turin in Italy. On his Golden Jubilee, Father Val expressed heartfelt gratitude to God and his many friends for the countless blessings he received during the past 50 years of his priestly life. He had said, "Thank you, Lord, for choosing me to become a priest. God has called us for special purposes in life, and I will continue to serve the Church and the people of Papua New Guinea. Dio solo, only God." Archbishop Francesco Panfilo wrote of Father Val, "He is now with the Lord, whom he loved very much, and with merry help of Christians, whose devotion he spread around, not only with his talks, but also with beautiful churches." Archbishop Francesco said Father Val left a comfortable position in the society in the Philippines in 1980 to start work at Araimiri in Gulf Province. Father Val gave everything he had, said the Archbishop. He said when he made provincial visitations at Araimiri, they spent hours talking, but when the time came to leave, Archbishop Panfilo recalled that he always left with a heavy heart because he knew how hard and difficult the work was. Father Val had a hand in the building of Don Bosco Technical Institute in Port Moresby. As Archbishop Panfilo recalled, when he arrived in PNG from the Philippines in May 1997, Father Val was building the new college DBTI. Archbishop Panfilo said people will talk about the buildings he erected, churches, classrooms, staff houses, dormitories, yet what he leaves behind is that he was first a priest, a Lassallean priest, and he was proud of it. A requiem mass for the repose of the soul of Father Valeriano will be held at the Shrine of Merry Help of Christians in Boroko on Saturday, 22nd April at 10 a.m. Salome Vincent, TV1 News.
And that ends the news segment. Terry Longboat joins us after the break with news on Pacific Oz Sports Netball Series and league franchises creating development pathways for new talent. Stay tuned.
Osimhen and Mark, this time it's in, and Napoli have the lead, and denied by Trump.
Tasmania is Australia's smallest state, lying about 240 kilometres south of the mainland. Join me on my journey through this beautiful island state as I experience the produce, people and culture that makes this an unforgettable island.
Lukaku sends it in. Oh, good save! Ball rolled in to Çalhanoğlu. Here's Lukaku. Oh, and Martinez so close. Maya. Oh, he's let David Neres in, and he shows no mercy.
Welcome to the Johns Family Podcast, people.
Sort of.
What are you laughing at? I just thought of something. I don't feel like dancing. On that note, guys, have a good week. We'll speak to you next month.
Welcome to MotoGP. To be a highly dramatic 18-lap Malaysian Grand Prix Moto2 started with...
So that's a very decent middle sector for the Alpine. They only half a second.
They have crashed! They've gone into each other! What a start for Will Davison. Di Pasquale has been swamped.
Some of the biggest and most talented egos in sailing.
The two-time defending champions make it 2 in a row.
There's a story in that dressing room of rock that rose from dust. There is courage you can count on and a mateship you can trust. There comes a time when you must fight.
It's on in the back plane.
And it lights an inner fire that electrifies the night. Yet, above the heaving cauldron and beyond the mighty game, there's a legion in your corner and its colour bleeds the same.
Whiten, yes! Pull out the Holmes! What a ball! What a try to Valentine! Over the top, it's an open passage for Tufo! Is something cooking here? You bet it is! Now Cleary, Bernard! It's been pitched by Ben Hunt! Hunt wins the Origin for Queensland!
Thank you for staying with us on TVWAN News. In sports, Australian Deputy High Commissioner Dr. Joanne Lowndes recently hosted morning tea to bid farewell to PNG Pepe's women's netball team, who will be participating in the upcoming Pacific All Sports Netball Series, which will take place in Gold Coast from the 24th to 29th of April. This year's series will be particularly noteworthy as it will feature the inclusion of 3 African nations, Kenya, Malawi, and Zambia, who will compete against returning teams such as Fiji, PNG, Samoa, Singapore, and dual series champions Tonga. Netball Australia has partnered with national teams, including Netball PNG, to develop sporting pathways for athletes to play in high-level Australian sports competitions. Australia takes great pride in supporting the sporting ambitions of these teams, as well as providing opportunities for athletes to achieve their goals on a global stage. PRK National South Basketball Tournament is now a benchmark for basketball in PNG. At the conclusion of its 15th edition at the Tarama Aquatic Centre in Port Moresby, South Basketball is now looking to extend its wings to join other elite competitions in the region. President of the National South Basketball Tournament, Silas Nicky, said since the inception of the competition 15 years ago, the level of competition and the standard of the game has gone up another notch. President Nicky said after the success of this year's tournament, they are now contemplating a tour to the Pacific.
We have a plan to put a team into PNBL as a semi-pro competition, and also we have been discussing about bringing one of the team of National South to Pacific country. Hopefully we have a sponsor this year or maybe next year to support us to make a trip down to might be Fiji or something else. And we are planning about that for this year selection. Definitely, PNG we can jump higher, This is our game. We don't have to, sit and watch others play. So, yes, you can see women and male, everybody, they are playing the same style of games. So I think we need to bring a team out, that's all.
Central Province franchise CPG Central Dabaris is embarking on a new phase of its Rugby League development pathway with the introduction of the ERA Dabaris Rugby League 13s program targeting rural Central. The 13s concept is an extension of the annual Dabaris 9s tournament run during off-season to identify new talent for the Central Dabaris franchise. The emergence of rugby league in the Central Province has gone another level since the Central Provincial franchise Dabaris entered the country's premier national rugby league competition in 2019. The Central Dabaris Rugby League 9s tournament has been used as a platform to showcase and identify raw talents from rural Central and put them into proper development programs so they can be considered for selection into the Dabaris franchise. This year, the 9s concept has been revamped and renamed ERA Dabaris 13 Tournament, involving all zones from both coastal and rural Central. Tournament Director Burao said the new initiative has again attracted interest from teams from across the 5 districts. He said the tournament will run for 9 weeks, starting May 5 to June 30, and played at the respective zones, with the finals to be staged in Port Moresby.
The previous years we've been running 9s, it hasn't helped a lot in terms of players being recruited to Dabaris. So we've decided that if we can have a 13s competition organized and run in the province, it will give the boys chances to compete in Dabaris or the higher level of competition in the country.
Burao said after the finals, 2 teams representing East and West Central will be selected for the provincial challenge before moving to the next level of the development pathway.
Get the boys prepared for the next phase of development programs. So this is in line with what we have planned out through the last, say, 2 years. So this will really be a platform, 13th concept, going forward for the Central Rugby League.
The director is again urging all zone coordinators to make sure teams are organized and ready before the tournament starts. A number of major sponsors have also come on board to support the tournament. Following their successful bid to join the National Rugby League competition this year, exciting new franchise EMK Civic Pride has embarked on a new development pathway to tap into potential and rural talents of the province. Their targets are schools both in rural and urban communities of the Greater Civic. To be competitive and sustainable at the pinnacle of the country's National Rugby League competition, the TDSL ExxonMobil Cup, local leagues and junior rugby league pathways are key and the real essence. While new franchise EMK Civic Pride's journey has just begun, plans are in place to launch a legacy development pathway that will see rugby league reclaim its status as the #1 sport. At the EMK Civic Pride season launch on Friday, April 14, Head of Events and Project Manager Jason Hendy-Kiang presented a brief overview of what the plans entail and how it will be rolled out throughout the Greater Civic. Hendy-Kiang said the acquisition of the 4 marquee players in Waratoa Puara Jr., Watson Boas, Francis Kempis and Joe Frank was part of their goal, vision and journey to drive the Pride's development pathway in the Civic.
The legacy program also, if you are following the Civic Pride Rugby League Club, we have about 4 Antis players. We have about 4 marquee players. We didn't just bring our team into the GCL Cup just to win the game. No, we want to develop rugby league back at home. That's why the 4 key players are very important to us. While the people are going around in media and saying critics and all this sort of stuff, it's good, but we take it. But we know our goal and we know our vision and we know our journey. That's why we took them in.
Andy Kiang also gave a brief perspective of the initial work that has started in rolling out the program by having the Pride players participate in local competitions to strengthen and raise the standard of the game. East Sepik Provincial Administrator Stephen Torovi spoke proudly about the new journey and acknowledged everyone who diligently worked behind the scenes to make it happen.
If you look at the Sepik Pride today, the Sepik Pride is a national team. That's what Sepik is all about. We are a national team. Lord leaders from Lanakam, we have always upheld the nationalism. When you look at Sepik, you look at Papua New Guinea. And we are Papua New Guinea. Today, or tomorrow, or on Sunday, when the Sepik Pride runs into the field, by looking at 90% or 50%, and more Papua New Guineans who have chosen to come home, come back to Sepik and play. You look at all New Guinea Islands staff, you look at all Simbu staff, you look at anybody, Sepik is Papua New Guinea.
And that ends the news tonight. Pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
Bye.
The TVWAN News was proudly brought to you by BSP, our bank, our people.